So I want you guys to, let's trace back towards that memory line and think back to a time where you have dreaded learning something. That was me when I was first came back to Taiwan. When I was learning science, I was learning Chinese, which is very different, as well as the education system is very different from the places I have been. For example, Singapore and Hong Kong. So let me share a short story about what happened along my path. So firstly, I started studying in Hong Kong for around 9 years, and then due to my dad's job, I moved to Singapore. I studied 1 year. That place, very beautiful place, but it didn't quite suit me. So my parents suggested me to come back to Taiwan. Well, if you think that, that's when I started my story. Not really, because when I first came to Taiwan, first of all, the cultural differences, I was kind of, let's say, being isolated by a lot of people. For example, back in Hong Kong, I was one of the tallest, and when I came to Taiwan, people were like this, and I was like, wow, how are you that tall? And then I was like, it's very different. So that's when I think that, maybe instead of just focusing about the culture or complaining about the differences, might as well go to the path of everyone consistent. Studying, and studying. I started to ask myself this question. Instead of looking at the test papers every time, which are all in Chinese that time, I asked my question to myself. How can I make studying interesting? How can I make my studying more meaningful? By having this thought in my mind, instead of just studying for this grade, for this test, I'm actually studying for myself. And instead of, let's say, for this test, I wish I got a 90, so I did like this. I linked back to many, many things that connect to my life, and started to think that, let's say, I want to be good at science. I don't just be prepared for the science test. I trace back to say why I want to study science and why I be good at it. Let's start with finding a motivation. Well, finding motivation can be very different. Like, for example, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be studying in college? Are you sure you want to dedicate this throughout your 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 college years? Well, this is what I've been thinking. A study and psychologists found out students who linked materials to personal growth have increased their success rate by 22%. Well, you guys may think, this is a number, but 22%. If you're already succeeding around 100%, well, that's 22%. You get that extra boost on continuing to go. Always ask this question: how does this subject into my life? For example, I hear many of my classmates just saying, why do I have to learn history? History is just a number, it's just dates, it's just everything. But have you ever heard of letting the past be the past? Well, my grade 8 teacher, Mrs. Abdullah, used to say, history is a chain of reaction. Well, that's actually chemistry, but it's actually a chain of story which goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and combines all into a chapter of story that influences the society we are now, the decisions we make now. As well as chemistry, about sciences, and for physics. It's not about the reaction or the experience we made. Just look around you. For example, the seats you're sitting here, the stadium I'm standing on, the screen I'm playing on. These are all linked back to science. So instead of just being, I have to study this subject, link back to the real world. What is similar to me? Like, for example, I want to build a building. You might want to be studying science. If you want to be in, for example, melodrama, which are studying drama these years, you might want to be for acting section. Number 2 is to hack your process. When I say hack, it doesn't necessarily mean actually exploit some bugs, but it's actually, for example, you're a visual learner. Let's draw mind maps. Let's draw notes, make colorful notes, make notes in class, watch videos. If you're an auditory learner, listen to some podcasts, ask your teacher for help, or ask students to share their experiences. If you're an aesthetic learner, for example, me, myself, I would actually start, like for example, while I'm brushing my teeth, I'll be recapping on what I've learned today. When I'm taking a walk, I'm on my way back to school. I'll be thinking on what I've learned today. How can I emphasize this? As my current chemistry teacher will just keep saying to our class is that always think about your explaining it to a 5-year-old. Yes, they don't know anything. So explain it as it is as simplest as possible. So what you do is, for example, you're teaching them about chemical equations. Instead of just showing them what to do, explain them from the beginning or from the origin. So that when the test comes out, well, instead of just like, oh, I reviewed everything, but I don't know how to explain, the answers come to your mind itself. Bonus hack, the Pomodoro technique. Maybe a lot of people have heard of it in Chinese. It's called apple technique. Nobody? No, too bad. My grade 9 teacher, Mr. Stephen, had also introduced to me, which is you study 25 minutes, you rest for 10 minutes, study for 125 minutes, rest for 10 minutes. That's the technique that I've been using consistently to stay alive instead of surviving the subject instead of doing bad at it. A research has found out that working on intervals such as the 25 Pomodoro sessions, this actually helps maintain focus as well as reducing mental fatigue. Moving on. Let's say redefining growth as failures. I know, everybody heard that, and yeah, definitely in Chinese. Failure is the mother of success. Well, people always think that, oh man, I got a B again. Oh, too bad. Well, think that B. For example, our chemistry teacher, as well as many teachers right now, has been focusing on one thing instead of just giving you 100%. You look at the comments more. So instead of just being sad about B or C or D, you actually look at the comments. 1, 2, 3, 4. Why did I got this wrong? How can I make myself better? Let's say Thomas Edison. I know everybody invented this story, and if you don't know Thomas Edison, make this slide. What this story is about, he actually made the light bulb 1,000 times. Instead of saying that, 1,000 times I'll fail, 1,000 times I'm such a failure, he actually just said one thing that inspired me to this day. I just found 1,000 times that this way doesn't work. Carol Dweck's growth mindset also has shown students about who sees challenge as opportunities to perform better than those who don't. For example, an action tip that I always talk to myself is when you're struggling, think. Instead of, I'm struggling with this, I'm going to be bad at it, I'm not going to be good. Think I'm building skills, I'm making myself better. Nobody is perfect at the first time. So by building yourself again and again and again, you actually improve yourself instead of sitting back. Fail early, fail often, but always fall forward. There's also one thing I want to say. Many people, I was inspired by reading I have done tonight, actually yesterday night, that Winston Churchill has actually made a quote. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Now, how to improve? My AP seminar teacher has always talked to me about one thing. Step back instead of just keeping going again and again, going in front. Like all the people are telling me to do. Go in front, break the barriers. Actually, you should do one thing. Step back and reassess the mistakes. For example, during AP seminar research, I've been struggling to move ahead and move ahead and move ahead. This is what Mr. Marrone told me, one thing that I will never forget in life. Step back and recess. Step back and recess. Yeah. Well, and last of all, is to build a community of support. For example, you say, the community might be it's a distraction. Maybe when I'm talking to my class, I get overcarried with this and not learning. But our school actually had a lot of things. For example, collaborative learning boosts comprehension and retention about 30%. Let's just say it's in terms of easier terms. If you have one brain who can think about all these answers, how about having two brains so you can evaluate those answers and build up one by one? Also, don't be afraid to ask for help. So, like, if you have a question, let's say if you're afraid to ask in class, you can always ask teachers. If you don't want to ask teachers, maybe you think, oh, that's embarrassing. There's a thing, a school event, which is peer tutoring, peer learning, that I want to share to you guys about. It's about during Tuesdays and Thursdays nap time, we have a peer tutoring session. For example, I'm a youth math learner as well as a science teacher. So I've seen many of my seniors explaining questions to me. For example, what have you learned during the past years during this specific class? How do you prepare for the test? How do you evaluate this class? Do you recommend this class? So all of them, instead of just forcing yourself to study online, ask those people who have experience. For example, I myself have studied grade 9 biology and I end up pretty good at it. So instead of just teaching the subjects to my fellow juniors, I actually share my experience with them. For example, what will be on the test. I'm not leaking information. So instead of just what would the test mostly ask you about, I'll ask them again. For example, could they explain this? So I think this is a more efficient and fast approach for those who want to learn faster. Let's say, let's wrap this up a bit. You may think, oh, studying is hard no matter when you're a little age, you're going to high school, after you finish jobs, after you're being a teacher, after you have finished everything and you're prepared to relax or learn something. Always remember, one thing is that studying isn't just about fulfilling the quest in front of you. It's about yourself. Relate to the world around you. Always use different techniques that suits you. Always seek help from others. It's not, the world is 8 billion people. More than that. Alright. There's a lot of people in the world. The chances of people who want to study the same thing exact as you, there's a lot. So instead of just doing it independently one way, find other approaches. Find other people. Maybe they have the same problem. You can evaluate together, and that's how debates in college professor happens. If you guys don't really understand what I said, I want you to take away one thing. When you enjoy and find your way to learn, you don't have to chase success all the time. Success naturally follows you. This is the start of my story, and now it's yours. Thank you, everyone.